Dr. Peter Breggin is my guest today, and you came up with a term in your book that you created that stands for what happens to people when they take these medications, and it's called spellbinding. Explain.
Medication spellbinding. If you think of alcohol, people who are drinking often think they're the life of the party when they're the death of the party. And again, thinking of alcohol, people will get out of control, disinhibited, and become violent. But if they never drink again, they won't be violent ever again. All psychoactive substances, all substances that affect our brain functions, spellbind us. And I call it medication spellbinding in medication madness because it's about the drugs we're prescribed. You may be the last person to know that the drug isn't helping you, that you become flat or you become more irritable or more withdrawn. You may think you're doing better than ever when you're not.
As if under a spell,
As if under a spell. It's like the damage the drugs do put us under a spell, which makes it difficult and sometimes impossible for us to know what's happening to us. And then we'll attribute it to something else. So we'll be angry, we'll get mad at our wives instead of saying the drug is making me irritable, or we'll get depressed and suicidal instead of being able to recognize the drug is doing it. And in some cases, much less common, people actually totally lose their inhibitions and become violent.
We created a graphic taken out of your book, some of the symptoms that you said you should look for with your loved ones if you feel like they're falling under this spell, as you say. And one of them is that the dosage has just been changed up or down, that you might see something then, relatively sudden onset and rapid escalation of abnormal thoughts and behavior. I know one of them is a prior history indicating that the abnormal behaviors were uncharacteristic and unprecedented before, like the man who ran over the police officer who'd always been very nice before, and gradual disappearance of the abnormal mental state after stopping the medication. Now, I quickly want to get to kids, all these kids taking Ritalin, taking all these drugs for ADD and ADHD. Should they not be taking these drugs?
I don't think we should drug our children when we need to educate them, discipline them, love them, and raise them. Adults take medications if you're informed, but the growing brain should not be bathed in toxic substances. Ritalin stunts, all the stimulants stunt growth, cause obsessive behaviors, suppress the spontaneity of the child. Many of these children get very depressed on these drugs.
But if some parents say, if my child wasn't on Ritalin, he wouldn't be studying, he wouldn't be focusing, he wouldn't be doing well in school, he would be failing.
Scientifically, there's no evidence that these drugs help with academic performance. I mean, think about it. Disrupting the brain with the same drugs that kids use on the street.
But anecdotally, don't the parents live with these children? Don't they see a change in behavior?
Well, there is a change. If you give these drugs to a chimpanzee, the same change takes place. The kids become less spontaneous, they become less social, they become less interactive, they are willing to do boring, very dull things, they even become obsessive about doing things. It's a harm to the brain that makes the child look better.
All right. Beverly in Plant City, your turn.
Hello. My son has a rare medical syndrome. It's LMVBS syndrome, and he was put on Paxil and Cymbalta, Lamictal, Wellbutrin, and in November he had acute kidney failure, so they took him off of all medications. And then when they did put him back on medications, they put him on Paxil alone, and he started opening the car door.
Opening the car door.
To jump out.
Well, yeah, while it was going.
To jump out, yeah.
How old was your child when he first started being put on these medications?
Well, he's 33 years old now, so you know what I mean. He's been an older person, but I just want people to know that they will do this.
That does happen. People get disinhibited, it's called. They lose control over themselves and do bizarre and dangerous things. Paxil, probably the worst offender of all. Many of the cases in medication madness are about Paxil, but really every category of drug can have a similar effect.
Okay, want to spend a couple of minutes left here on people who do feel depressed, hopeless, anxious, their child has ADD or ADHD. If not medication, what?
We need to re-empower human beings to take charge of their lives. It's easiest to see with children. If your child's out of control, your child needs discipline. You, the parent, need a parenting class. You may need some family counseling. Maybe read some good books on parenting. Out of control behavior in children, I mean, this is really a brilliant deduction, isn't it? Has to do with lack of discipline. And the most common cause is confused disciplinary principles in the family.
And so for adults, you believe family counseling or individual counseling for depression is better than taking the drugs?
Well, everything is better than taking drugs for depression. Depression is loss of hope. Religion, sports, exercise, love, romance, all of the things that make up life, finding the courage to live again, finding the strength to live again. Counseling can be very helpful for that, providing the counselor doesn't send you for Paxil as well.
Wow. You must have gotten a blowback somewhere from the pharmaceutical industry or the American Medical Association, because you're saying everything counter to what is going on in our culture today.
Yes, it's very, very risky to take the positions I take. And that's why you don't see more doctors doing what I'm doing. It's not because the science isn't with me. The science is with me, but the power and the money, we're talking billions of dollars, is with the pharmaceutical companies, the AMA, the American Psychiatric Association, the National Institute of Mental Health, what I call the psychopharmaceutical complex.
We will take a break. Right back again with the name of this very interesting book. Back in a moment. The book is Medication Madness. Dr. Peter Breggin, his new website is Breggin.com. And lastly, you recommend therapy over drugs. What do you look for in a therapist that would help you instead of taking these medications?
Look for someone who helps you the very first time you meet them, because they're full of enthusiasm, interest, and they don't look depressed. Find somebody who's going to care about you, take an interest in you, help you get empowered. Not tell you you got something wrong in your brain. Get you empowered.
It's a fascinating, controversial point of view. It's been a pleasure having you, Dr. Breggin.
Been a pleasure.
Yeah, good luck to you. Book, Medication Madness. Have a great afternoon, everyone.